Welcome into Red Empress Tarot. I'm Patty. I am a psychic, a healer, and a reader, and I'm not here to do a reading for you today. I'm actually here to help you with a home remedy that is very effective for abscessed teeth. So if you have a tooth infection and you can't quite get to the dentist today and you're in pain, this is going to help you immediately. A lot of people will tout different methods. They'll say gargle with salt water. They'll say put clove oil on it. Those things are topical. They're not actually going to help that infection. Something as simple as a black tea bag can actually reduce the infection for a little bit of time until you can get to the dentist and get it properly taken care of. So this is not a replacement for a root canal. This is not a replacement for pulling the tooth and getting that therapy where you go in and completely remove the infection. This is a stopgap measure that actually works, and it actually works pretty quickly. So let me explain how it works. So we have a tea bag, and inside we have some black tea. Black tea is very specific for this. I've heard people using green tea or different things, but do the black tea because it's the tannins that are very highly present in black tea that draw out the infection and that will help you. What we're going to do is we're going to take a tea bag. We're going to cut the tea bag in half. We're going to roll it up. We are going to get it wet with warm water. At that point, you take that tea bag and you put it between your cheek and your infected tooth, right up against your infected tooth. And you're going to leave that there for as long as possible. I suggest 2-hour intervals for at least 12 hours. Now, there are other pieces of information on the internet that say like 30 minutes, 20 minutes. That's not enough time to really draw that infection out. If you really want to help yourself, you're going to leave it in for like half a day, a whole day, as long as you can stand it. Now, you can do it at intervals. And we'll talk more about that later after I demonstrate how to actually physically do this. Okay, so just a quick disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a dentist. I don't have medical credentials. What I am is a person. I'm a person with a knowledge of how this works that wants to help you if you're in pain, and I want to help you get out of the pain. I have been in this place. I've actually done this several times over my lifetime on myself. I've helped other people with this, friends and family, and I know that it works firsthand. And I just feel like it's information that should be more widely available out there for people to use as a way to relieve that pain. There's no reason for you to sit around in pain until you can get to the dentist. Okay. So I use this Bigelow tea specifically because the kind of tea bag it is. You could use any black tea. This one's Earl Grey. That's a type of black tea, but it doesn't matter what type of black tea as long as it's black. All right, you can also use loose tea if that's what you have, with a piece of cheesecloth as well. You just roll it up like a burrito in the cheesecloth. Okay, so here's our tea bag. I'm going to set this aside. The first thing I'm going to do is cut off that string. Now, if I had a tea bag that had a staple in the top, I would remove the staple. I like the Bigelow brand, and I'm not associated with them because they're tied. There's no metal in here. So the top of the tea bag is just tied closed. I really like that I don't have to remove the staple. So I'm going to kind of even out the tea. I'm going to kind of make sure that it's even across, and then I'm going to smush it so it smushes flat. It just helps a little bit later. And then I'm going to cut off the string because you don't want that in your mouth. Okay, and we'll set that aside. Now, if you don't know the anatomy of a tea bag, if you've never really looked at one, they're actually two-sided. Look at that. So there's two sides here. We're only going to use half of the tea bag at one time. If you can, roll up the whole tea bag and put it in your mouth without cutting it and rolling it. But it is bulky and it's going to get uncomfortable after about 15-20 minutes. So if you use a half a tea bag, it's going to be more tolerable for more hours, which is what you really want to make it work. So I'm just going to pull this apart at the top. And it's going to open up at the top, but that's okay. All right, so we can see the tea bag is in two sections now. I'm going to take my scissor and just kind of tap down the middle so the tea kind of goes one direction or the other, and then I'm going to fold the ends in just a little bit so when I pick it up like this, and then I'm going to let it fall in half. I want the tea to go on one side or the other for a minute here, like that. We'll get a little tea spilled around, and that's okay, not a problem. So right down the middle, I'm going to go ahead and cut this in half. And I'll set one side a half. Set one half aside for a minute. Okay, so here's what's going to end up in your mouth. This is what's going to draw out your infection. So the first thing I'm going to do is take this bottom now that's open, and I'm going to fold it up so tea cannot spill out. And then I'm going to lift the tea bag up like this and let the tea fall so it's kind of even on both sides. You want it pretty even. If you have more on one side or the other, it's going to be bulky on one side and it's going to get uncomfortable faster. All right, then I'm just going to roll right over the tea. And then this other side, the top side, I'm going to fold that over one more time, and I'm going to roll that against the tea. And so we have this nice little tight roll. That's what you're going to end up with. Okay? Then I'm going to take some water. You can either use your hottest tap water, or you can you can microwave water for about 30 seconds, okay? Don't have it hotter than that. You do not want boiling water like you're making a cup of tea. It's too hot for your mouth, too hot for your fingers too. So I'm going to take the end of this and I'm going to submerge it in the water until I see tea starting to form. So when I actually see tea coming out of the bag and the water getting a little discolored, I'm going to pull it out. So we'll wait just a few seconds. The water has cooled off a little bit while I was waiting, so it might take another extra few seconds. Usually 20 seconds, 30 seconds is plenty. We want to make sure that it's fully submerged and nice and warm, not super hot because that will hurt your mouth. Okay, now I can see that the water is discoloring. Tea is coming off of the bag. I know, my English people out there, this is not the proper way to brew tea. I know it needs to be boiling hot and this is lukewarm, you know what. But it's not for tea, it's for healing. So the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take the tea side of the bag and you're going to put that against your tooth, and you're going to kind of wedge it between your tooth and your cheek. So it's really wedged up in there, really nice and flat against the gum line of your tooth. Should be kind of right in the middle of the tea bag. And you can save this half for later. You can just roll it up because you might want to change out that bag. In fact, I usually do change it out after a few hours, and I'll tell you why in a second here. And you can just put it in the little wrapper here. So you have one rolled up and ready to put in the water later on. You can even pre-prepare those. You can put it in your purse and take it to work, whatever you want to do, in your pocket. So this tea bag, once you have it against the gum line right at your infected tooth, you'll notice after, it depends on how bad your infection is. If it's a pretty bad infection, it only takes a couple minutes. If it's a little light infection, it could take, 30 minutes. But you'll notice, and you'll be able to feel it with your tongue, that right where the infected tooth is, the bag starts to get slimy. Only where your infected tooth is, right? Right up against the infected tooth, it will start to get slimy. And what that is the tannin in the tea pulling the infection out of your tooth area. So it's coming out through the gum line. If you have a crack in the bottom of the tooth, it could be coming out there too. But it adheres to the tea bag. And so you're going to be very tempted to pull this out and look at it or wash it off after a few minutes. When you start feeling it slimy, you're like, but no, leave it in for at least an hour. I suggest 2 hours, then take it out, rinse it off. You can rinse off all the slime, the infection, and put it back in, or you can get a new bag. It's totally up to you. It will work for probably 4 hours, and then you need a new bag. So you're going to go through several bags of tea in the process. I really suggest about 12 hours. Now, a little disclaimer here. If you decide to sleep with it, in there. I've done that before. It is a choking hazard. So if you're a person that tosses and turns or moves around a lot, I would not do this with a small person that doesn't have control of their mouth very well. I would not let them sleep with that there. You can. I find it effective to sleep with it because I'm not feeling the discomfort of the bag there while I'm sleeping. And in the morning, it's pretty much healed. If it's still throbbing, you can feel it throbbing like the pulse in your veins. If it's still really throbbing and really tender and really painful in the morning, you got to do it another half a day or so. This will last a little while. This will get you through. This could last for anywhere from a day to several days to longer, depending on how well you drew that infection out. But again, you're going to need to go to the dentist and get it taken care of. Don't use this as an alternative therapy for taking care of that infection. You're going to need to have it completely cleaned out and cured. Tooth infections, because your teeth are so close to your brain, the infection there in your head, think about that, is very close to your brain. And if it gets up into your brain, you can have very serious consequences, even death if you leave an infection unchecked, especially in your top row of teeth. So be super careful with those. Don't use this as a replacement for a real cure, but use it as a home remedy that's going to give you some time and, some pain-free time where you're not feeling like crying because the pain is so bad, okay? So I really hope that helped you. If you're interested in tarot, come back and, watch my readings. If not, I hope this just helped you. Hit like on the video if this resonated for you. And if it works for you, please come back in the comments and tell me how that worked for you. Take care. Bye-bye.